We take a look, especially during presidential years, at the polling locations and where we are. Unfortunately, we don't just create polling places. We have to use those that are readily available. SFA is really, with redistricting that took place in 2020, 2021, Precinct 34 became predominantly SFA. There are some off-campus locations. There's an older community. We also have like the apartments over on Cardinal Street and so forth that are part of that precinct. But the majority of it is students that live on campus. So we were trying to get the polling place moved a little centrally located for the students. Right now they are having to walk about a quarter of a mile to the polling location, which, yes, that's not that far, but if we can have it right there on campus where it's easy for them, they go eat lunch, whatever, at the student center, they can go right in there and vote too. So that's kind of what we were approaching. We've had a lot of things going on with both parties, so there's, you know, some opposition there. Even within the parties, there's a little bit of opposition. But again, kind of like I said in court earlier today, those students are part of this community as well. And we forget because we refer to them as students. But they are community members, and they do pay taxes here in Nacogdoches County, and their parents are paying money to this university, which filters back through our county. And so we want to try to do what's best for the community, whether it's students or people that are non-students. And that's what we look at when we're trying to establish those locations. So we were asking the commissioners to move from University Church over on North Street to the SFA Student Center just for election day only for the November election. Yes, it's pretty much a 50-50 split when you look at the ages. We went back and looked at anyone under the age of 25 in that precinct. There are 1,900 active voters in that precinct. 900 of those are under the age of 25. And so that's, you know, it's pretty evenly split. When we looked at the voter history, though, for 2020 and kind of saw what happened there, the majority of our voters that are over the age of 25, they vote during early voting, or they vote by absentee mail ballots. So they're voting here already for early voting. They're not voting on election day. Election day is where we're going to pick up those that either forgot or last minute voters. So I think, again, that's going to be that student body, that younger generation, and they like to vote on election day. They don't like to early vote, where our community does like to vote early. Last year, the Texas legislature passed a law where we are required to offer curbside voting now on election day at all of our polling places. We used to just offer it here during early voting, which we still do. So that is something that that community, or those with disabilities, or those that just can't make that walk, can take advantage of that. And what they do is they pull up, we have a designated parking spot. It has a sign with a phone number. They can call the number and let us know they're there for curbside. We'll send someone down, they'll check them in, they'll vote sitting in their car and everything. So, you know, I hope as people become more and more aware of that service that they will start to utilize that more and more. We have two different groups on campus that are trying to get formed. We have a young Democrat and young Republican group. I've talked to both of those student groups. As far as getting to the location, is the biggest problem is crossing North Street. We don't have a lot of crosswalks. We have just a few in front of SFA, and they're pretty dangerous. And, you know, I would hope at some point in the future, I guess that's maybe TxDOT, not necessarily the city of Nacogdoches, would look at maybe putting a crossover across North Street to allow those students to walk up and above the street instead of having to walk across the street. So that would solve a lot of that problem for us. But that is kind of what I get from the students, you know, and just having it accessible right there on campus, it just makes it a little bit easier for those that don't have transportation. You never know what's going to change in the future and what that's going to bring. So hopefully we can get a better location for them in the future. There's nothing wrong with where we are now with University Church. I would like to have that polling location a little more centrally located in that precinct. Right now it's on the northern end of that precinct. We try to get in the middle as most we can, but when you look at the precinct itself, it's an older community, it's SFA, it's Pecan Park, and it's University Drive. And that's all businesses. So there's not a lot of other places that are public like that we could have the voting at. So our hands are kind of tied.